21, starting at verse 8. It's about possessing your soul. Luke chapter 21, starting in verse 8. Now they had asked, his disciples had asked Jesus about the end times and the destruction of the temple. And Jesus said in verse 8, "Take heed that you be not deceived. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and the time draweth near. Go ye not therefore after them." There are a lot of counterfeits, even today. There's lots of people that maybe don't come out and say, well, I'm the Messiah. But there's lots of people that are saying, well, you need to follow me, and I've got the way, I've got the answer. Don't go after them. Why? Because generally speaking, one of two things is there. First of all, what they're saying to do eventually deviates from the gospel, number one, and number two, the biggest reason is not because they can't do signs and wonders, but because they don't have the fruit of the Spirit. Verse 9, "Well, when you shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must come to pass, but the end is not by and by." If you notice, he's bringing in the whole issue of the soul. He said, be not terrified. We're talking about emotions. The soul here being the place of our emotions, our reasoning. It's really the essence of who we are as individuals. Our preferences, what we like, what we dislike, our strengths, our weaknesses, strength of our personality, our will, all those things. It's part of the soul, and our emotions are certainly part of that. And he said, be not terrified. So he's already addressing the issue of the soul. Fear robs us. It robs us in this sense. Fear takes us out of the realm of thought and into a realm of reaction. When we do things out of fear, they're not usually well thought out. And then afterwards we come to regret, and we might even ask ourselves, why did I do that? Well, because fear kicked in. And when fear kicks in, we become irrational. Because it's like there's a fight or flight that kicks in at some point. It's like you have to defend yourself or you have to run. But that isn't necessarily appropriate. Now, verse 10. "Then he said unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilences and fearful sights. And great signs shall be from heaven." Fearful sights. That's what he's talking about here. Again, it comes back to an issue of fear. Great earthquakes cause fear. Why? Because it's totally out of control. There's no controlling an earthquake. Famines and pestilences, these bring fear. Verse 12. "But before all these, they shall lay hands on you, excuse me, and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and unto prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony." So he's telling us there. He was telling them there's hard times coming, and certainly it's coming around again. We're not exempt. Jesus said, "In this world you shall have tribulation." Now, it'll turn to you for a testimony. The question is, what kind of testimony? We all think a testimony is a good testimony, but we have bad testimonies too. When we're fearful, when we don't do what God wants us to do, it's a bad testimony, but it's still a testimony. Verse 14, "Settle it therefore in your hearts," in your soul, "not to meditate before what you shall answer." Because you'll say all kinds of crazy things when you're fearful. And what is his answer for that? He says, "I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay or resist." He's talking to his disciples. He's talking to us. When you're in a tough spot, don't try to figure out something clever to say. In fact, don't think at all. That's what he's telling you. Don't try to figure it out. Trust God. Get into the Holy Spirit, and you'll speak things that will amaze you, because it's the Holy Spirit speaking through you. And you shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinsfolk and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death. Now, why does it have to be? Why does it have to be friends and family? Why does it have to be the ones close to you? Because basically God displaces everybody except himself. God has to be number one in our life. Anybody that's equal with God is become an idol. Verse 17, and you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. It's like, wow. You'll be hated because you're a Christian. But there shall not an hair of your head perish. But he just said, you're going to be betrayed and caused to be put to death. So how is it that not a hair shall perish? Well, he's talking about spiritual death. He says elsewhere, he says, you know what? Don't be scared of the people that can take your physical life but can't take your spiritual life. He said, think about the one and be fearful of the one that can take your spiritual life. And he's talking about himself, God. The people can take your physical life, but they can't take your salvation. There shall not a hair of your head perish. Verse 19 is the crunch. In your patience possess ye your souls. Now, if you read that by yourself, it's like, what does that mean? But you get a better sense of it when you read the verses up to this point. Everything that we encounter has an emotional element to it. You ladies understand it even better than the men do, because women connect everything emotionally. Everything that you encounter is like you like it or you don't like it. And it's like, you know, that's the way God made you. It's not a wrong thing. But you have to get past the like or don't like to say, but what am I going to do about it? You may like it, you may not like it, but that's fine to be in touch with yourself that way. But you have to ask yourself, what am I going to do? $64 question. And he's saying, you know what you do? In your patience, possess ye your souls. Why is that? Because you react so badly to something that you essentially lose your soul. What am I talking about? You can become so fearful that it doesn't matter what happens, you're going to do X. You just lost your soul. Why? Because your soul, you've just given it over to one emotion and one situation. Now, it may give you a solution in the short term, but what is the long-term implication of the decision you just made? Possess your soul. So the smarter thing to do, of course, is to work out how you feel about it and then come back to God and say, now, God, I'm fearful, or I'm angry, or I want to kill that person. But it doesn't matter what it is, it's like you got to work it out in His presence. And that's how you possess your soul rather than lose your soul. It's not just that. I mean, it's like we're talking about negative things here, but you know what? Positive things you can lose your soul in too. You can get so excited about a job promotion or about an inheritance that you got or another person, about situations that you lose your soul. Why? Because you're so focused on it. You forget about the rest of you as a person. I know people that are so caught up with what they do, their career, they have no sense of self outside of what they do. Not a clue. All they can do is talk about what they do for a living. And they have no idea what they are outside of that. Now that's losing your soul. Because there's not one person that is in the world that can be defined by what they do. Every person is defined by who they are, not by what they do. What we do is sort of a manifestation, but it's only a manifestation of part of us. Because every one of us has more than one role, and what you do for a living is only one role. All of us have some kind of family, so it's like, okay, so how are you as a son or a daughter? How are you as a father or a mother? How are you as a brother or a sister? How are you as a child of your parents? Those are familial relationships. But how are you as a friend?
Right.
These things are very important. Are you a person that people can come to talk to? Are you scared they're going to ask you for money? That's sad. You can always say no if that's it, but you know what? If God puts it on your heart, you should. But that's not the issue. The issue is, can you be open to just receive somebody for who they are? Not even by what they look like. I've encountered literally bums on the street, but I encountered them as a person that has intrinsic worth, because Jesus died on the cross for that person. I remember one time I talked to this guy, and it was like, quite honestly, he was a street guy, and he smelled. He smelled, but he asked me for money. I gave him money, and he hugged me. I didn't die. I didn't walk away with a smell on me, but I took it for what it was. It was a manifestation of the love of God. That's all it was. And he's just as deserving of God's love and respect as I am.
Right.
We have to remember that. It's about possessing your soul. The way you possess your soul actually comes down to a verse, a little further down, verse 28. It says, when these things begin to come to pass, the good things, the bad things, the things that would tend to deviate you from a total sense of self, then look up, lift up your heads, for your redemption draws nigh. When the difficult things come, he says, look up. Look up to me. He says, look to me, because your redemption is there. Your redemption comes, first of all, in who you are. Your redemption comes with the peace of God that comes into your heart. When God speaks into your heart and you have that peace, and he's able to work through the anger in you, he's able to work through the fear in you, he's able to work through the revenge in you, and get the peace and the joy of God in you. That's your redemption. That's how you possess your soul. And it's vitally important. Why? Because you don't have to be, but you want to be a full person. A whole person in the presence of Jesus. You don't want to lose your soul.
You don't.
You can, but you end up with so much less. You end up with just a sliver of life, the sliver that you identify with, and that's it. There's no life outside of that. There's nothing in it. It's an empty life. It's like trying to live on sugar. You get a high all the time and you're going to die of malnutrition. There's nothing in it. The lesson in this chapter is just so important. There's all kinds of things going on. And it's easy to get caught up with the things that we see. The positive things, and especially the negative things. And we react towards those negative things. And he's saying, don't lose your soul. Be patient. Don't look at what's going on. Look at what God's doing. Look to Jesus. Because it all came to pass. It didn't come to stay. He's coming to do a work in you, so he wants you to look to him, not the situation. When you look to the situation, you're going to lose your soul. Because you're going to have no patience with it. I need to get this out of the way now. But when you look to Jesus, you know that it's going to come and it's going to pass. And he's taking you up to a higher level in him. That's the whole purpose. And that's what we want to remember. It's about a work in us. It's about drawing closer to Jesus. It's about being more. It's about being a full person. Possessing our soul. And that's my message for today.
Amen.